Hello, and welcome to the next episode of my podcast based on the articles that I write at WaygookinWay.com. WaygookinWay.com is where I write articles dealing on a variety of topics, mainly dealing with Korean American culture through the eyes of a foreigner. Hashtag Waygookin. So definitely go there, check out my articles. The website is WaygookinWay.com. And so the last podcast episode that I uploaded dealt with my article dealing on misconceptions that Korean people tend to have about American people that are black. And so that dealt more along the lines of not everyone having those misconceptions, but some of them are, and how sometimes it's just based on things that people have been told in the media, different lies, things of that nature. This episode is dealing with the reverse of that. What are some things that black people, specifically black Americans, have been told regarding people who live in the Republic of Korea? Now, again, for those that are not aware, the Republic of Korea is more commonly known as South Korea. The Democratic People's Republic of Korea is North Korea. So when we refer to Korea, we are referring to South Korea, not North Korea. But as you can imagine, there have been many misconceptions, many lies that have been told by people. And so this article basically dealt with three of those. And so we'll go into that right now. The first one is that all Koreans eat cats, dogs, and other weird objects. There are supposedly places in South Korea where you can get dog meat. I have no clue where they are. While I have met people that have tried dog, I don't know anyone who actually eats dog and cat meat. So, there are cultures where people eat dog meat. Dog meat is, according to one person I spoke to, considered to be very lean, very little fat to it, so it's considered to be a healthier meat portion. That being said, most Koreans, actually, every Korean I've met in South Korea and in North America do not actively eat dog meat, and the ones that did try it only had it one time. So, this misconception, I'm not sure if somebody got this misconception from other cultures, or it is a part of Korea's history, especially when Korea was a lot poorer of a country. But it's not like you go around and there's some restaurant in Seoul that specializes in dog meat, or at least not one that I have seen. So that part you don't have to worry about if you're planning to go to Korea. You'd have to probably work pretty hard to find an area that eats dog and cat. As far as it being weird or other weird things, one must keep in mind that what is normal or strange in one area is different in the other. So in America, it's common and it's normal to eat beef for a lot of people. But to other people, it's absolutely disgusting and horrible because you're not supposed to eat any type of cow meat. You're not supposed to have any type of cow product because of cows being sacred. So to them, it's strange and abnormal to eat any beef or any dairy product. To some people, there's nothing better than a nice hot dog, maybe topped with some sauerkraut, some chili, some cheese, depending upon how you like it. But to other people, when they look at the ingredients and how hot dogs are made, hot dogs are one of the most disgusting things that you could ever have. And yet, you go to a ballpark in the US and you're sure to find someone having a hot dog and a beer. So, you have to recognize that some things are strange to us but normal to other people. So that'll basically determine what your view of different food items are and how much of it you are willing to eat. The second misconception or rumor that I dealt with is one that says all Korean women are gold diggers. This is something that I got from a friend of mine who is a Korean woman and who had to deal with this quite a bit. A lot of people feel that Koreans are very materialistic people, and part of that comes from Korean American culture, more or less. There are some Koreans in Korea who are very materialistic because you can find it in any race, any culture, anywhere on the planet. When I say that it probably came a lot from Korean American culture, there's definitely a feeling in Korean American society that states that anybody who's in the United States can make it big and become rich. And so there's some Korean Americans that look down on other Korean Americans and other people in general if they're not wealthy people. So they work hard to make sure that their cars are a luxury brand, that they have the best type of house imaginable, all so that they can appear wealthy even if they're not wealthy. And again, it's not every Korean American, but there are a number of Korean Americans that feel that way and will openly talk about and mock other people who they feel aren't at their level of success and wealth. And so, because of that, and because of some men having dealings with Korean American women that are snobbish and rude, that's why sometimes people feel that all Korean women are that way. And that's certainly not the case. It's not something where every Korean woman is looking for a man who's going to support her and so she can sit at home in a luxury apartment or a luxury house and do very little each day because her maid and her servants are doing it. A lot of Korean women in Korea are actually college educated, and there are some very good women's universities in Korea that only educate women, and they're very well renowned universities. So definitely there's that. You have Korean women that work in freelance work. I have a friend who does freelance artwork for different projects. I have another friend who owns a few coffee houses in Korea. So you have Korean women that are hardworking, that are willing to work, and who are not dependent upon a guy, nor are they looking for a guy that's going to be super wealthy. Many Korean women, especially a lot that I've dealt with, as far as friendship, not to get that misconstrued, but a lot of Korean women that I've dealt with were mainly looking for a man who was going to treat them right, who was going to love them, and who was going to care for them. They weren't looking for the richest guy, they weren't looking for the most handsome guy, but the guy who had the best heart to offer. And so that is the true spirit of Korea. Korea is a very romantic culture. Korea is one that is based on love once you get to know more about Korean culture and Korean history. So definitely, are there some gold digging Korean women? Absolutely. And in the article I mentioned about how tradition years ago, generations ago, was that a woman got married, she lived with her husband, his family, so her husband needed to be able to provide not only for the two of them and any kids that they'd have, but he also had to provide for his parents, his grandparents, any siblings that they had. Maybe had to help provide for her family as well. So a husband's ability to provide was naturally going to be super important because it wasn't just the two of them and any kids that they had. It was a whole lot of people that were depending upon this one man. So that can explain part of why that's considered important to some people, but mainly Korean women are just like any other woman. They're looking for somebody who's going to love them and take care of them and truly respect them. The final misconception I dealt with in this article is one where it's probably one of the most asked questions regarding Korean culture or Asian culture in general, and that is, what are Korean men's view towards black women? And for a background as to why this may be a question that many people ask, there was a few years ago in the United States a dating service that did a poll as to the people who use its site, And it basically said if you were a black woman or an Asian male, odds are you weren't going to get married because nobody was really looking for you. And so, as disheartening as that was, it raised the question, well, would Asian men consider black women and would black women consider Asian men? And as a result, there have been quite a few couples where you have an Asian man dating and marrying and having a family with a black woman. But the perception in Korea is that Koreans are very close-minded and that Koreans are very racist. Therefore, Korean men do not like black women. Korean men do not love black people at all. And so this rumor absolutely is false. And I'm saying that from conversations that I've had with a number of my friends. And so for them, their ideal woman looks more like Beyonce, looks more like Nicki Minaj, looks more like Rihanna than anybody who is Korean. And that shocks and surprises some people, but there are a lot of Korean men that actually love black women. There are a lot of Korean men that want to date and marry black women. They think that black women are the most beautiful women on earth. So again, that rumor that Korean men, all of them hate black women, definitely is far from the truth. Many Korean men are open-minded about dating, and especially the younger generation. Younger generation in South Korea now. When I say younger generation, people 40 and younger that are old enough to date. Many of them are actually open to the fact, to the prospect of dating a non-Korean. So it's something that doesn't get publicized much. Definitely, when you look at the media's portrayal of black women, a lot of times it is as someone who comes off as being rude at times. And so people have this perception that black women are loud and obnoxious when that's not the case in most situations. Also, the portrayal of Asian men are men that are good at fighting, good at doing different things, but are not romantic men. And that certainly isn't the case. There's definitely, if you watch Korean TV, if you watch a lot of dramas from other Asian countries, there is a big thing about romance, and it does show a more romantic side to Asian men that is not shown in mainstream American culture usually. It's usually the beautiful Asian woman ends up with somebody else. Very rarely does she end up with the Asian guy. But Korean men can be very loving, can be very romantic. Korean men do get a reputation from some Korean women as being very macho. Some saying that Korean men can be the most macho and rude men on earth. From my experience in dealing with Korean men, as far as friends and people that I've done business with, that's not what I've seen personally. So maybe for some it's a different story behind closed doors, and that could be why I haven't seen that. But for me, definitely I've talked to a ton of Korean men that are willing to marry black women. So if you just keep in mind that not everything in South Korea is like what you see in a Korean drama, and if you keep in mind the fact that not every guy is going to look like your favorite K-pop singer, you can find Korean men that will date and will marry a black woman. And so if you're looking at stories for that, just so you can see it for yourself, because as I talked about in the last episode, a lot of times what people see has a great bearing on the things that they feel. So if you want to see examples in action of Korean men that have married black women, you can check out Mazlee. That's Mazele. You can check out J Hearts J, letter J, Herts, letter J, on YouTube. And those are two couples that are a Korean man and a black woman, so you can see their story, how they've grown in their love and affection for each other, and what goes on in their lives. If you want to see some humorous stories, you can check out Storytime with Kenny JD. That's KENNIE JD. Her Korean channel deals with her experiences in having Korean men that are quite honestly inappropriate with her, but definitely some of her stories are a little humorous. Some could have gone the wrong way more than they did, but definitely check out her stories as well. Also, if you've been to my website, WaygookinWay.com, you've seen my review of Lily Pell's World. That's probably the second most viewed blog post that I've ever had. And so if you go to Lily Petal's World on YouTube, then you can actually go to the interview section and you can check out some interviews that she's done with couples where it is an Asian man and a black woman, just so you can see that these love stories do exist, even though you're not going to see it too much on television or in movies. So the links to those channels will be in the description box. As always, please like those videos, subscribe to those channels, and comment to let them know that you enjoy what they're showing. And as I said in the last episode about the misconceptions that Korean people sometimes have towards black people, there will be more of these articles coming and more episodes of this podcast that are going to deal with different misconceptions that black people have about Koreans as well. So if there's any that I missed that you would like me to talk about more, definitely leave me a comment down below. You can email me as well at contact@waygookinway.com. The email address as well as my social media links will be in the description box as well. So please like this video, don't forget to comment, subscribe to the channel, let other people know that these videos are being uploaded, and let people know that these topics are being talked about. And you can again ask questions and I'll do my best to answer them as best I can. So thanks again for listening to this episode, and always remember that the best way to get rid of your nightmares is to live out your dreams. Talk to you later. Goodbye.